Come to order. I'd like to call to order the May 14th, 2025 meeting of the Board of Water Commissioners of the Katuitt Fire District. Picking the roll, Sherbuck,
Robinson,
Horsley. Gang is all here. Is there any public comment? I have to ask under Chapter 30A, Section 20 of the laws of Massachusetts, if anyone is recording this meeting and to let themselves be known to the chair. Hearing none, this meeting is being recorded and streamed on Zoom. First item, the bill and fine dispute by Mr. William Calder. Not seeing Mr. Calder in attendance.
He's not here and he's not on Zoom. It's his daughter's birthday tonight, so he will not be here. I did follow up with him this week to ask him if he would be here. He mentioned, and I asked him if he was able to get the licenses for the plumber that disconnected the meter and the plumber that put in the spacer. And although we discussed that at length at the last meeting, he responded that he thought we were just waiting on a determination from district's council. So he has not obtained those licenses. He asked if we did hear from the council. I said that we had, but I could not disclose that until we discussed it in an open meeting. So I have included in the packet the communication from Mark Boudreau, who in his determination says that their actions rendered the meter incapable of registering the quantity of water supplied through it and interfered with the meter's proper functioning. This act allows the district to fine the property owner the greater of $1,000 or the actual value of the water used and the cost including labor of the equipment to repair or replace.
Thank you very much for following up with the customer, and thank you, Chris, for getting the opinion from District Council Boudreau. For the commissioners, at their pleasure, like to postpone a decision on this matter until Mr. Calder can be present, or do we feel we have enough information to make a decision tonight?
Jen, could you remind me, I said $1,000 or the cost of the water used, what was that, the latter?
We can't estimate the cost of the water used. We have no way of estimating that.
Oh, that's right, there's no meter. So that doesn't apply then. So $1,000 would be the maximum fine.
Yeah.
Right, his dispute was that nobody was using the water.
Right, understood. I remember, yeah. I guess the other question I have is, I understand his daughter has a birthday. Did he request that we postpone to the next meeting?
He did not.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure I saw these emails last time that emails from the Calder to the office in May of 2024. And it looks like he's requesting the new meter be installed in May 28th, 2024, so almost a year ago. And then there's a series of emails with the staff and about the cost of it. And so he understood that he needed a new meter. I think that's clear from the emails. It was the site visit by the staff that noticed that the meter was dangling there, not being used because it was cracked and couldn't be used. So the meter wasn't taken out of the house. It was there waiting to be replaced. Is that correct?
If you look at, when he showed up, it was removed. It was the picture that you have there in the back. That was 5/29, which is the day we went to change out the meter because he said it was frozen. So he needed a new one, but it was under construction. And that's what they found when they showed up there, was the picture that you have there in the back, where it's removed and dangling, and there's that piece of PEX in there, and that bucket, you can't really tell in the picture, but it was full of water where there was water dripping from the PEX down into it. So where somebody had been either turning it on or off.
I get all that, Chris, I'm just, it's not accurate to say that the meter was taken out of the home without permission. It was disconnected because it was broken. It was bypassed. He was taking action to get it fixed and replaced. He didn't do so promptly is what I recall from our last discussion. We don't know how long that PEX tubing was there. I mean, could have been
It's one of us.
one of us what?
I don't know, there's
Phone was buzzing,
somebody
sorry.
vibrating over here.
Phone was
Somebody's
buzzing.
was
Phones are
ringing.
buzzing.
Oh.
Sorry.
So I mean, I'm not sure that this answer from council is really instructive. We know that it's $1,000 fine to disconnect and bypass a meter. Did the council have access to all this other information that we're seeing here tonight?
I had told him what had happened and.
I think he should review all the information before he makes a judgment. I don't think he wants to say that he's taken out of the home because that's going to be challenged.
I agree, that's a good point. But if council's opinion is based on a misunderstanding, the meter was removed from the home. I think we gotta go back to,
He must have misunderstood when I said to him that the meter had been removed.
yeah,
He might have done, he figured it had been removed from the house, so he's either gonna verify or review. But I don't know if it's he.
You know, I don't know if this is going to be settled in a court of law, but any lawyer wants to get all the evidence and information that he can get to make the judgment. And, you know, a phone conversation typically is not something that the lawyers I know would render a judgment on. So, I mean, this is a packet with information. This is all the information we have. Send it to him and make sure he sees all of it. You'll see that the meter wasn't removed from the house. It's there. It was intended to be replaced. It wasn't replaced promptly. I think that's clear from the evidence that I'm reading.
Good motion.
So I would like to defer this and make sure that the council has all the information, and not just recite the law to us. We know what the law is. We want his judgment on whether there's enough evidence to suggest that there was some willful actions being taken here. I mean, if somebody did take it out of the house and, you know, threw it away in the dump or hid it in the shed or something like that, that would indicate intent to me.
absolutely. I agree. Do I hear a motion?
So I guess I'm moving to defer this to a future meeting after we have further information from council and another chance for Mr. Calder to respond with the licenses, which we should request again. And if we don't receive those by the next meeting, that will be another piece of evidence of lack of cooperation.
Second. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. That's unanimous. Superintendent Wiseman, the water quality report, please.
We've got two.
Oh, sorry, leak adjustment requests. Let's see, this is,
So we included in the packet the language of our current leak adjustment policy so that you can refer to that as we review these two requests for adjustment. These are from the July to December 2024 usage, the bills that were issued in February, some of which couldn't be documented until irrigation systems were turned back on this spring. That is not the case with this first one. However, the first one is a property at 185 Main Street where the property was under construction. It was known that the contractor hit a line. We went over, turned off, found out that it was a different pit and it wasn't our service. The contractor repaired that. But at some point they noticed that there was, and especially after they got a bill with really high usage, noticed that there was another connection that had become disconnected and caused a leak. I've included in the packet a copy of the bill that was sent in January, as well as a report with their usage over the last 5 years, highlighting what their previous high usage was and what their average, you can get an idea of what their average usage is. And then I did some calculations. If the adjustment were to be granted in accordance with our policy, this is what the relief would look like.
What is that number?
So they would
On
be,
the Kelleher one.
Yeah, I got it right.
so they would be eligible for leak relief of $1,149.15.
That would be the amount.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment, suggestion.
Yes.
So I would say, having, irrigation systems is a liability.
That's the other one.
This one isn't
This
where
is the-
irrigation. This is a meter.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it also
Another
said,
one.
oh, there's two of them we're gonna be
Yeah, there's
covering.
Kelleher.
I'm sorry,
and
I'm sorry. They were related.
That one.
All right,
Two different ones,
withdraw that. Sorry. Well, actually, my comment might be the same now that I'm reading this, but go ahead, Mark.
This is in accordance with our policy. And the pit is where, what's in the pit?
This is kind of a weird situation. This is a house on Tidy Lane, down on Main Street, and there's a pit actually in the former commissioner's yard that feeds this house. They brought it up to the house, and they have their own pit on the location where they separate after, on their line that goes to two places there. They didn't even know that the pit existed. The guy, when he bought the house, I don't think. And when they hit the line, they called us, we shut it off at the street. They really only had to shut it off in their pit to fix. So when they fixed it and we turned it back on, they didn't realize that they had pulled it out of their pit that's on their property at the same time that they under construction. I don't know if they were putting septic or what they were doing, but he was getting a bunch of work done at the place.
Isn't this what DigSafe is all about?
It is, but
It's
they
an
won't
unknown
go,
line.
because it's a private line, on his property, they won't, DigSafe won't go any further than your property line usually,
We would-
unless you ask them to come in. With us,
Safe on my property.
yeah, well, that would be electric and everything else, but for the water department, we only have records to our pit.
To our meter.
We don't know what happens after that
I
pit,
see.
so that's why we didn't go in there and mark anything. He could have called out somebody and tried it. We have a couple of situations like that in town where,
Well, for this one, I recommend that we implement our policy and grant the relief that's requested of $1,149.15.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can we go back to public comment, because I don't see it on the agenda here, but we have Tara Nye here from the Cape Cod Commission.
Absolutely. How do you do, Ms. Knight? Very well, thank you. Will you join us up at the table so that the microphone can reach?
So just as my way of introduction, I attended a Zoom meeting this week with Tara and some of the other water superintendents and commissioners, including Chris here. And the Cape Cod Commission has received a state grant to look at some of the drought mitigation measures, including analysis of water rates and pumping rates. And so I told her that we were very interested in this and had taken some drastic actions in this regard, banning irrigation tied up to the public water supply for new hookups, and also adjusting our rates twice in the last 5 years. So I was interested to hear some of the comments from other water suppliers. But I'd like to give Tara an opportunity just to explain a little bit more, see if she has some questions for us.
Looks like you already have some of the material that I brought. and actually this has been updated, that specific draft. I have actually listened to your recordings online, and I realized that the acoustics in here are very poor. So I'm gonna try to avoid.
It's not worth your time.
Oh, here, do you want a copy? And I have it.
Thank you.
So as Mark said, we, the Cape Cod Commission, received a grant from EEA, Drought Resiliency and Water Conservation Grant. And you all supplied a letter of support, as well as the Booster Water Department. They also supplied a letter of support. The grant was, it's about $44,000, not a lot of money, but it has to be spent by June 30th. Just quick turnaround time. So we are looking to study water rates and use patterns on Cape Cod. We want to identify the range of water use rate structures and pricing tiers, and examine variation in water use throughout the region. I've actually made this packet specific to it. So all of the data plots are Katuitt Water District. We want to assess the effectiveness of changing water rates or rate structures to promote water conservation. Yeah, so I'll hold the project outcomes. I won't go through them all. But you can read, I think, yeah, on the second page of that handout. I'm not sure that we'll be able to demonstrate some of the expected outcomes, like that tiered rates can be structured to promote successful water conservation. You know, there's still, and in your case specifically, and there maybe isn't enough time, and that's kind of part of the problem, is that this timeline that we're looking at is a very short, well, we're looking from 2018 to 2024, just sort of an arbitrary grab of 7 years. We wanted to be before COVID, and then we wanted to get as close to the present as we could, knowing that COVID's gonna really skew water use and population numbers on the Cape. And also, a lot of rate changes haven't happened. I mean, what some, I think even in this case, the previous year, 2020 change, 1995 was the last time that water rates were changed. So from 1995 to say 2020, you know, that's a long time, but unfortunately, that isn't going to be helpful to us because there hadn't been a lot of rate changes so that we could look at subsequent change in water use. So the timeline might be too short to actually get a really good sense of what the changes in water use might be per changes in tier rates. We also want to look at drought and if drought has any impact on water use. And again, that's going to be a difficult analysis to do because there are a lot of other factors that play into this population, and COVID is going to certainly play a role. And then also when the drought happens. So I've been looking specifically at 2020 and 2021 because there were some significant months of drought for those 2 years. And one of those years, actually, the drought was later in the year. So when the drought starts in August or October, September, you're not going to see much of an impact because there's already going to be a reduction in water use because there's a reduction in population and also a reduction in watering your gardens, watering the lawns. I think so one of the years, 2021 might have been the better year because the drought started in March and then continued through August. And so that's kind of the year I'm focusing in on. Of course, it's COVID year, another COVID year. So that's going to enter in another factor that I don't know how I'm going to normalize, if you will. So some of the questions are in the back. The last 2 slides there. And some of them have already been answered. In the session we held earlier this week, we asked some of these pointedly, and there were some really good discussion and some really good answers. One of the things we wanted to know is if using the information from the ASRs is sufficient. Is that, because it's easy to get, and it's easy to cull the information out of those, as opposed to trying to get information from each different water district, the water department. So we were using the ASRs. And also other questions are there other metrics we should be looking at besides just overall pumping activity, pumping quantity.
For the record, could you explain to the public what ASR means?
Annual statistical report. It is, I believe, what the water districts are required to send to
Yes,
DEP
to
every
yeah.
year. Yeah, thanks. Acronym speak is a bad habit. And so we're looking at, we're wondering if we should be, so actually this was a question that was answered. Should we be looking at usage by account, for example, resident versus commercial? And the answer at the meeting that we held was residential. So and anytime you have, if you're looking through these, even after I leave tonight, if you want to reach out and send me some answers to any of these questions or point us in, better direction, that'd be very much appreciated. And don't scrutinize the plots too closely. I mean, I'm sure we have, summing up numbers
do.
over there.
Sarah, good to see
Giving-
Nice to see you.
It's good to see you too, Scott.
I do have one question. What is the,
Okay, that's a hard,
this graph?
that's droughts, and that is the drought at that year. So it's like, that's a really difficult, I wish I could remove that drought line because it's confusing.
Yeah,
If you were to filter by year, it would become understandable what it means. So if you were to look at 2021, which you can, of course, because it's a paper copy, but then it would immediately show you that it's showing you the max drought that happened in any given year during that time, that month.
these are months though, right? So this
Right,
means
but there's also,
like the peak here, does that mean, I guess,
so there are years as well. So the colors are years,
right,
and then each broken out by month. And so this drought, for example, happened, I'm not sure which year, but one of the years at this month, there was a drought that was at a
oh, I
level
see,
of 1.
okay.
And then another drought that was at a level of 3. And this is actually current, right? We have a drought
Okay.
right now.
Yeah.
That's,
So I mean, big picture question.
Yeah.
And I may have missed this, but is you're finding and evaluating the data that our water rates are reducing?
well, your water rates are reducing.
Yeah.
Your pumping volume.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. That is definitely happening. Now, I doubt that's because of drought. I would suspect it's because of the increased
The rates.
And yeah,
And we have, I don't know if you got it, but Jen put together recently a summary of all the people that went off the public water for irrigation on the private wells. We have about 100 private wells, and Jen recently tabulated the amount of pumping that went down, and it's about 15 to 20% of the summer pumping. When we reviewed this the last meeting, so that was kind of another, I think, documentation, if you will, of
yeah.
reduction in pumping. So we believe, and love to hear if you have a different perspective, that it is working in reducing water pumping. I mean, irrigation.
Here, it's in the minutes that we've yet to approve.
Yes.
Data shows that the wells have reduced public water demand, specifically water treated to drinking water standards, by over 12 million gallons. This reduction averages 142,000 gallons per day, or approximately 50% during the 90s.
Yeah.
And additionally, about 80% of those are outside of your zone 2.
Right.
So it's
Right.
pulling off of a different
Right. Exactly.
section.
Yes.
Out of the zone of contribution.
It's taking the water that otherwise would be in the Nantucket Sound.
Yeah,
So we consider that a win.
yeah. And this might be controversial, and also I'm a little bit outside of your world, so I apologize for this question, but you're losing money. So I'm wondering about this conflict of interest that water districts
We're
have.
losing money?
Well, because you're losing money because the people who are now using their private wells to irrigate their lawns, they're not paying you for
Except
that.
that our rates in general have gone up,
That's
so
true,
we're
so that
actually,
definitely offsets
I think we're pretty steady.
So we're
We're self-funded.
still
We
self-funded.
still are self-funded.
We tried to make it revenue neutral by, we couldn't assume that everybody would stay on, and they haven't, but the people who have, Jen's still working, she hasn't quit, so we can't be arguing that much.
So we sell less water, but higher rates.
Right, okay, so that offsets any loss that you would have felt.
That was our
That's it,
assumption. It seems to be working.
So when I mention this,
yeah.
what you have done to other districts, that's kind of their first response. Oh, but now they're gonna be losing money
Yeah.
because,
And we heard that
Some
one.
of these water districts like Dennis, I think, cannot fall back on a district tax or real estate tax.
right, they're.
So we have tax, real estate tax and water rates that support, and ambulance fees, I guess, to support all the costs of the district. But some of those, like I know Dennis,
Right, she
if
mentioned,
they can't self-fund with the water rates, they're in trouble, but they, of course, they have a lot of connections. They have a lot of people, whole town. We've got 2,300. They've got thousands and thousands. So, but what's my point?
well, this study is not taking that into consideration. We're not looking at whether it's what's it called, enterprise?
Enterprise.
Or whether they're have any tax-based support. We're not looking at that at all. Just looking solely at the tiered structure.
Right. See what
If you
Mark,
look at the tiers of the other districts, they're not that much different.
no,
From one
there's
tier to
not
the
much.
next.
No, oh, you mean not from
Ours
you, you mean
is-
from one tier to the next,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, ours is significantly accelerated. As you
Yeah,
go
my
up.
guess is most of the so-called progressive water rates are not nearly progressive enough to really discourage people from irrigating the heck out of their lawn. We wanted to make it substantial
Mhm.
so that people would go, oh my God, this is crazy. We're like, yes, we want it to be crazy. We want you to look at it and go, oh my God, as opposed to, no big deal.
And the previous commission banned new irrigation.
Yes,
systems.
we banned new irrigation systems.
So that
And I-
went into effect when, 2020?
August of 2021. Got a
2021.
call on that today.
Terry, the other thing I would add, especially if you're taking back to the commission to think about is, by putting in these private wells, get over 100 now. My view is they're pumping groundwater, many of them near the shore, and pumping that water onto their lawn. And according to the MEP reports, getting 80% nitrogen removal.
Yeah, so,
So in
right.
addition to saving water the other thing is when I started as a commissioner 6 years ago, one of my first tasks was we need a new water supply well. What's that, 5 million, 7 million, 10 million? And I started looking at things and said, why do we need a new well? Oh, because people want to irrigate their lawns. I'm like, this is drinking water.
Yeah,
Why are we gonna spend $10 million to irrigate lawns? So that's when we started thinking about discouraging that. So that's another cost savings that maybe isn't reflected in, because we would have probably had to take on a new well, right?
Yeah, we needed to do something either, we had to do something conservative in a way, because it was overworking the
We were
pumps.
hitting the
Yeah, and everything was going down and it was scary for a while.
Yeah. So I think the two benefits are cost savings of a new well
yeah,
with growth. And secondly, the nitrogen, which I don't think, I talked about this with the Barnstable DPW staff. We just started getting into it. It's hard to actually calculate it, but I think there is a benefit to private wells. We call them fertigation wells.
mhm.
And so we think there's two benefits.
So just backing up for a second, did you end up building a new
No.
well? So you
No,
just
we
never-
avoided, we
96
avoided
was
it.
the last time we put it on.
We decided we didn't need it.
Jen, do you have an estimate of how many years people recapture their $5,000 to $7,000 well?
Well, the walls are a little bit more expensive now. They're anywhere from 7 to 11.
3, 4, 5
So
years, 3 years, 4 years.
Depends who you get to put
It
it in, yes,
depends.
yeah.
It depends on what their average consumption
yeah,
was, but
yeah.
I would say anywhere from 2 to 4 years.
yeah.
They,
That's a pretty good return on investment.
Yeah.
some people,
I'd take
1
that.
year.
Yeah.
And we should also note that the majority of customers saw no increase in their annual
Right.
water bills.
Right.
After the rate
60%.
change.
60%.
Wow.
And 100% got a reduction. So,
And we're revenue neutral.
You were revenue neutral.
Yeah.
I thought you were revenue positive, and then you cut
Well,
back.
we're positive.
Yeah, you
but
were.
we're still, I think we're still
We're still
Slightly.
covering all the
pretty
operating.
close. Yeah, we're covering our costs.
Operating, not
Yeah.
getting into insurance or debt repayment, that kind of thing. Operating neutral.
you know, in a larger community with many more below medium income people, it might be different. They might feel it more.
Yeah,
You know, the other number that, I don't know, is there gonna be a report, a written report on this when you get done?
yeah.
Okay, so the other number that I've always been interested in is summer peak pumping. What percentage of the water that we're pumping is going on lawns versus coming into the houses? My guess is around 40%. Almost half the water we pump in the peak summer is going on lawns, which I think is a little crazy. We treat it.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of a way that that could even be
How do you
done.
calculate that?
Yeah,
It's
you know,
tricky.
you have to get into how many, every home, how many people live in the house and.
Well, what I do is I take the
Yeah,
state assumes about 15% of the annual pumping is outdoor water usage.
So
If you
at the
take the
state, at the
15%,
state level, they've been able to figure that out.
yeah,
you
if you take that 15%, put it into 3.5 months, it gets to about 40% during the 3-4 months in the summer.
Did you say 50 or 15?
15 is the number
15.
annual.
For
I think that
Massachusetts.
Mass DEP uses for estimated
I said 50.
outdoor water usage, most of which is lawn. And if you compress that into the summer
Right.
peak period, take all that water, 15% of your annual pumping and put it into the summer, it works out to like close to 40%, 35-40%, which is pretty
you could
substantial.
talk to Hans about that.
Yeah.
He
yes,
might be able to help you because they have 2 meters
Yeah,
in Hyannis
That's right.
because of
That's
septic.
right. That's
Right, and once we're outside watering, so they don't get charged for a septic bill.
Barnstable does too.
Barnstable, now, oh, okay,
Barnstable Village.
Barnstable.
I don't know what it's called, Barnstable.
it might be
It's a little
somebody that's talking,
confusing.
yeah.
Because what, you know, what.
Chatham and Provincetown also separate out. So if we could use Chatham and Provincetown and Barnstable and Hyannis / Barnstable, then maybe we could get a sense.
Yeah. of
Yeah,
What's going
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
It's a tough project.
Yeah,
And you got no, yeah, you got plenty of time to do it.
right.
Yeah, and so this is maybe a pipe dream, trying to
Yeah.
get this figured out, but I'd like to even accumulate questions we would pose post, this grant cycle,
Yeah.
either because we're really interested or we get another grant to continue to look at these kinds of things. So I'm happy to take questions that even we couldn't address necessarily in this timeframe, but then,
Right, you had mentioned also you're getting the data from the ASIs. And you would ask me a specific question, and we talked about it a little afterwards. The municipal unaccounted for,
yeah.
it's actually accounted for, that's the thing. It's how they label it as unaccounted. We get an estimate from, like, when we're flushing,
Mhm.
how much water we flush out, so that's a municipality use.
But it's not metered, I think, is that why they call it
Should be
unaccounted?
Right, because it's a-
undelivered to the home, right?
Right, and we estimate it out every day, like, we put a gauge on there, it's not metered, but it's done by a pedo gauge, some of it's done by the, fire department filling their trucks and emptying them, so they know how much gallons they're using. So it actually is still being measured, but it's not being measured with a meter.
Which is why it gets labeled under unaccounted.
Yeah, but we still.
It's
in our-
metered with no account is
Correct.
actually how the ASR.
And when
interprets it.
we can use that though against, for our unaccountable water, it goes
Isn't,
down.
Chris, historically, doesn't that number also supposed to include leakage out of pipes?
Yeah,
Yes.
well, and there's 2 separate unaccounted for
Right.
water categories that we have in this report. One is municipal, which is
Yeah.
what Chris was just talking about, and the other one is other.
Mhm.
So it is the ones that come from leaks.
So while we're
Stuff
on,
meter.
do you have a sense of, within the quote unaccounted category, how much is leak versus non-leak? Do you have a
Yeah.
sense of that?
There's not much in leaks. I
Oh,
mean,
really?
it depends. With leaks, it's tough because you have to go in there, you gotta actually see the piece of pipe, you cut it out, you look at it, you take it, see what kind of hole it is. And the only thing we can account for by law is the day we find out that it leaks and the day we fix it.
Mhm.
So if there's if there's a 5/8 hole in the pipe, we go through and know that there's 85 pounds of pressure, so it's putting out this many gallons a minute, so we can do that, but we can only do it for the time it's a known leak.
Right.
That could have been leaking for 6 months, but because somebody calls up and it's coming out of the ground, they say, okay, you can go, that you mark down the time that it came in at 2 o'clock in the morning, then you mark it when it was fixed, so you can only account for that time, from the time you find it to the time you fix it. That's all DEP will accept.
I always think of the Three Stooges episode where Mo and Larry are in the bathtub, and the pipes and all the water. That's not the situation.
But did you notice on this bar graph here, there's the unaccounted for water and there's the municipal and the other, and the unaccounted for water in both categories dropped dramatically from 2022 to 2023 and continues on that lower level on 2024. Yeah, so the top two bars, the orange and the yellow,
Okay,
are
dropping.
unaccounted for, and they're just, I was talking to
Is
Chris
this
about
Katuitt here, or is
this.
it-
Yes.
Let me ask you a quick question. Is that when JR started flushing?
When in 2022,
Yeah.
2023? No.
Okay.
No, but what also
Wow.
contributes to that unaccounted for water is stuck meters, where we confidently estimate what
Right.
their average usage is. And with our meter replacement program, we've replaced a lot of the older meters in town.
I have a question about it. I can't remember, I'm not sure, I don't think I have this very well memorized, but an older meter tends to show more
Yes.
or the opposite?
It gets stuck. It doesn't speed up, it gets stuck, so it shows less.
And an older meter will let more water by, on wear and tear. The older they are, the more they wear down, they're not as accurate. And then they let more water by than what you're actually reading, so it's averages 10 years, 10 years, million gallons to go through a water meter. You want to change it out, so you stay as accurate as possible.
I think the only other question that, I mean, I have lots of questions, but I don't want to hold your meeting up for too long. I'm just, have you found that, doing a water restriction, like promoting conservation, have you found that that impacts water use at all?
Oh, yeah.
Residential?
It does. You're gonna have some people that do what they want, but,
Yeah,
not this year. We haven't put any kind of, voluntary out, but we have in the past. And we get phone calls from people that say, there's some people in town that were going out at 4 o'clock in the morning, watering their garden by hand, their vegetable gardens and everything. Now, the way I went, water management act is now, we have two different things that have to happen before we would have to put any kind of mandatory on. And we haven't got there yet, or anything like that, like, we have to have a level in a certain well in town that goes to a certain, has to stay there for 60 consecutive days below that limit and be in a drought.
which level?
Level one.
Level
Yeah,
one.
yeah, so it's a combination of factors for us. I found out myself, not everybody has that and
Oh.
on Cape Cod. Some people have or
Oh,
in their reg. So ours says and I don't know if it's because we're smaller, but some people that are much larger and stuff like that, but
that's interesting.
yeah.
Got too many variables in your equation.
Him or this?
You.
Yeah. Do you think?
One thing that I want to tell the commissioners, though, Yarmouth is also installing a PFAS treatment system. So it's Hyannis.
Which I don't know if you guys about the PFAS.
I thought
See
Hyannis
that?
was buying Yarmouth's water.
They're extending the dates out for people to actually have to call, meet the deadlines out to 26 or something. I mean, 2 years. I sent that around to you guys to EPA just now, and they're gonna be looking at,
The levels.
the Gen X. It's Gen X?
Well, in general, I think this is lots of good data. We've been puzzling over impacts of drought versus rates and consumption.
Tricky, yeah.
It does seem to us that there's still a significant amount of usage because of drought, regardless of price.
Yeah,
But in general, I think Scott's right that what we've been trying to discern is this gradual decrease in use over the last few years. I think that's a general statement.
Jen, maybe you should
Gradual decrease in use?
Decreasing. use,
Yeah, here.
send the summary of the private wells and use data, because I think you might want to see that.
Already done.
That's pretty,
Yes.
I think that's pretty
You mean
convincing
you just
data.
did it now? Oh, you already sent me a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
But I'm sympathetic to the commissioners elsewhere that say, oh, we're gonna lose revenue if we just put in their own wells. Okay, so you can keep adjusting your rates. They can adjust their rates every year. I mean, it doesn't, we have incredible authority to regulate the water rate. Just these three guys right here. That's all it takes.
You know, I would say, I'm sorry, I would say that the fact that you're getting that question suggests to me there's a conflict of interest in
That's-
the industry.
That's my bottom, that's
Right.
exactly what I keep saying.
Right.
There's a conflict of interest here.
Sure.
And I wondered if that was why when I go around on various websites, because I do a lot of surfing
Yeah.
on the district websites, and I see no indication there's a drought, no indication to instruct for decreased water use. And you know, I mean, I didn't know if there's just, like, some websites just they don't have the time or the energy to update the website. I get that. And then there's the other people who maybe don't want to encourage decreased use because they would get.
Our president wants to remove all the low flow shower heads, right?
Yeah,
How's that gonna work?
I don't think there are enough years left, fortunately, to make that happen. Let's hope.
That could affect things in the future.
You think that much?
No, you know, people listen, they believe stuff. Who knows?
I mean, you do see in some towns, they have sandwich boards out around the main streets talking about mandatory, voluntary.
And actually, that might be a better way to get the word out anyway than
Nobody goes to
website,
websites.
is to see those sandwich boards out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's been a few years since we've done it.
Yeah, yeah.
We've done voluntary, but not mandatory.
Voluntary, right.
yeah. Well, thank you very much. for
Great,
your
you're
time.
doing the study. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thanks for
doing that.
coming. Yeah.
It's been, you know, when we tell people we're doing the study and the data, and they kind of like do the snoring snooze, like, you have no idea how fascinating this is. It is not boring by any stretch, but it is really complicated, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Is everybody participating and helping out? Is everybody that you've requested information from helped you out?
No, but that was one of the reasons we went to the ASR route, because we
Those
can
are good.
request from DEP and they'll send it in pretty short order.
Right.
So it hasn't, getting the data, at least, that's why we're happy we can use ASRs. So getting the data through that report has been, an important, like, key to us moving forward on this study and for this grant.
To answer your question on what feedback are we hearing, I get calls asking if there is a ban in place. When I tell them we always encourage conservation, but there is no mandatory ban, they want to know, well, what would the restrictions be if there were? And then when the ban is in place, I get the calls of, is so-and-so on a irrigation well, like they're
You're telling on their
paddling
neighbors?
on their neighbors.
Oh, yeah, that happens a lot.
Really?
All
The
cemeteries.
The cemetery in town has their own well. And I constantly get phone calls from people. I just drove down Putnam Ave and the cemetery's going like crazy.
So some of our residents have put signs in their yard that
Yes.
says private irrigation well in use.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Don't blame me.
That we
And maybe we
provide.
should buy one of those for the cemetery. So you stop getting all the calls. I think that would be a good investment.
Yeah.
We have some in the
We still have some in the closet.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll give the guy a
That's a
call.
good-
Say, you want to
that's a
put
good
this out
idea.
front and
Yeah,
save
yeah,
us some
yeah.
phone calls?
That's great.
But broader speaking, the commission used to convene all the water superintendents on very regular basis. I forget if it was monthly,
Yeah, one point.
to kick around all these ideas
Yep,
instead of just a,
yep.
a one-stop here. Chris, I know you have some of those meetings, but it hasn't been as regular as it used to. Is that correct?
Seemed like
No.
it'd be a good
No,
idea.
but you're gonna be doing a presentation at the water fair. So you'll get some of the people there from Barnstable County and Plymouth County, I think, also combined.
It's such an important resource.
Yes, I think it is
utility, right?
southeastern.
Yeah.
It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, why don't they
The
meet?
Cape Cod water supers to get together very regularly. And I think they don't have the staffing to make it happen. I mean, the commission could help do that, convening
You can
it.
do it by Zoom. Cut the time in half.
I saw, I grabbed that, thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll write that down. That's an interesting idea to have
It used to be called the Barnstable County Utilities Association. Does that still exist?
It does,
Yes,
that's,
it does.
that's what.
That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say, she's gonna be presenting at
Yeah.
a water fair.
But Mark said we
Mass.
used to meet monthly,
So it used to be monthly,
monthly.
and now it's just yearly.
It used to be monthly, we used to meet monthly, then it went to like every 3 months we met, and now it's after COVID, it's just, nobody ever goes as a meeting. It's more of just, there's a chairman out there, and he sends out some emails saying, we're gonna be doing this. A little bit of a chain reaction to everybody, can anybody help on this, anybody help on that, and have a couple events, and it's kind of turned into just, more of a scholarship thing now to help people out and everything, to still keep this stuff and money that they need. for
My
going
point is,
to
the
Boston.
commission used to give the staff support to that.
Yeah.
And, provided agenda topics, speakers, comparative analyses, all the types of things that made it interesting and important. And, this is not an environmental issue, it's a public health issue. It's
But, but,
amazing. Water, groundwater, drinking water,
yeah,
it's both. Well, I don't know, it just, I think it would be a great service the commission could offer again.
I wonder if, one of the reasons, well, COVID, of course,
Yep.
stopped a lot of things from happening, but we find that if there's this monthly or quarterly meeting, that over time, people lose interest or just, and then just don't attend. And you're pushing this meeting that, people aren't coming to, and you're making the time and, getting the speakers and getting the agenda, getting all the material together. So.
Yeah, and then you try to get a quota or anything like that, or anything, it's tough. Yeah,
It
I found
sounds
that
like-
at the end, a lot of times, some of the people, we used to always have it at Mashpee. So some of the people that showed up, that started out with everybody, and then fewer and fewer people came, and it's tough because you get certain topics you can have a little discussion on. They usually had somebody there that would talk for about half an hour, 45 minutes about something new that was out there. And then we'd all talk about it afterwards a little, or if anybody had any concerns. It's just getting less and less participation, and it's tough to get people together anymore,
Yeah,
It's
it
just-
is. So it sounds like this water fair, which by the way is a terrible name for it,
I know.
because I thought I didn't know who the audience was gonna, there's gonna be children there.
Yeah,
But it sounds like you get some sort of credits.
yeah, that helps to our continuing education.
Yeah, I think that's
To
key.
use,
So,
continuing units, yeah. You can get, I think, up to 5 credits there, and this is a re-up year, so one of my guys might be going or 2 to it. It's nice. And I saw that, they just sent it out, they sent out the wrong dates, and they just sent it back to us again, and, last week, just beginning, I think it was Monday, we got it, and I saw that you were doing the presentation and stuff, so.
oh, that's good. I
That'd be
didn't
nice,
get that email. Because I actually sent Bob,
I can forward it to you, I'll forward it to you.
sent Bob Hoffman an email today
Yep.
saying, did you get our information? Because I haven't heard back from anyone. So that's good to know.
Yeah,
It's
I'll
on
send
the
it to you,
agenda.
I'll tell you exactly what you have to do.
Okay, thanks. Well, thank you, and let me know if you have any questions or any follow-up ideas.
Thanks,
suggestions.
Sarah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
We'll move on to the Walsh abatement. Here on Oak Street.
So Mr. Walsh had a leak in his irrigation, actually 3 leaks in his irrigation system last year. He works with the folks at Joyce Landscaping to help monitor it. They were able to make repairs, didn't realize the magnitude of it until they got his bill. In the meantime, as preventative measures, he's now, he's made sure everything has been repaired. He's installed smart meters. We have added him to our monthly monitoring list. We go out and read them every month now. This past Monday, we did it with our new smart reader, and we could see the usage by day and by hour. And he sent a copy of our PDF report to Joyce Landscaping, and they said this within 30 gallons matches exactly what their monitoring system has. He's taken all kinds of steps to make sure that this doesn't happen going forward, and that he has monitored it properly and maintained it properly. So again, I've attached a copy of his bill that we issued in February. Obviously, this investigation didn't take place until we turned it back on this spring. And again, I've made calculations. If we were to issue relief, what that would look like. He has also made $1,000 payment in good faith. And if we were to issue an adjustment for this bill with our normal calculations, he would owe an additional $165 in B square. The relief amount is $1,165. So pretty equivalent to the last one we just reviewed.
Sure.
Yes.
So, this is the one I wanted to comment on. Thank you, Chris.
Yep, no problem.
So, my view is this irrigation system is reliability, like a lot of things you have on your private property, and this was done by a private company. The impact, I mean, the problem got created by National Grid, right? So my view is this is between the homeowner and National Grid, and they want to go after National Grid and say, hey, you did damage to my property, which is going to cost me money. So be it. But it strikes me we should go with our calculated value that you just quoted. I don't see why there would be anything other than that here.
Clarify that last statement.
Well, the number you mentioned, we calculated
The relief amount?
yeah, I
Mhm.
think that's what, that seems to me that's the right number.
That he should go after National Grid for.
Well, if he wants to, or just pay it. I mean, it's not it wasn't our problem. It's, you know, and I think having an irrigation system, you know, is, like I said, is a bit of a liability. If they've worked on their property, yes, it can impact it, can damage it. But I don't see why we should be liable for it.
Well, our policy says that relief will not be provided in cases where the leak is associated with an irrigation system, particularly if the system is not properly monitored and maintained.
So I'm sorry, what's the difference between the actual price, the water bill, and the relief? It's like 1,500 versus 1,100? Or did I get that wrong?
So his original bill was
Yep.
$2,578.
So I'm looking at this 1425, what's that?
You're looking at Calaveras, I think, aren't you?
Okay,
Or are you looking at the right one?
1588.
So on
no,
the
this
bottom
is
right hand
Walsh.
corner, usage bill 1/2025 was
Yep.
2,578. If we were to adjust it based on our policy, the adjustment would be for $1,413. I'm sorry, the relief would be $1,165, bringing the bill down to $1,413. He's made a good faith payment.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I'm sorry, Mark, you were saying maybe this doesn't qualify for the relief? Is that what you?
Well, we said relief will not be provided in cases where a leak is associated with an irrigation system, particularly if the system is not properly monitored and maintained. In this case, it's not a monitoring and maintaining, it was an accident caused by a third party.
Mhm.
We're being asked to have the ratepayers of our district subsidize the accident caused by
Yeah.
National Grid.
Right. Why would we do that? I don't see the rationale for that.
Well, if we don't provide relief, then it's the homeowner stuck with the full cost of the accident.
And if we do provide relief, then the other ratepayers subsidize it. That's what you're suggesting, right?
Yeah, but he has taken steps to improve the sprinkler system by putting on better monitors, which really are not related to the accident. It's
Right.
just is showing some good faith here. Obviously in our interest to have better sensors. He wasn't required to do that. Maybe he was encouraged to do that, but to show some good faith with us.
So I'm sorry, maybe my motion was incorrect. What I'm suggesting, he should just pay for it without the relief.
So no relief.
No relief. That's my.
Is that a motion?
It is a motion.
Wait a second. So it's up to you, sir.
Relief will not be provided in cases where the leak is associated with an irrigation system. It's an irrigation system leak. I vote to deny. So second.
Thank you.
Second motion, all in
So
favor?
what is the motion?
To pay the full amount,
To provide no relief.
not, no relief.
Not provide relief.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Closed.
Moves us to the water quality report. Superintendent Yasmin.
All right. Well, nope. All water quality, coliform came back negative. We did get our nitrates, back. There's a slight increase in a couple of them. Some have stayed at the same. And it's not, it's weird, because it's like, Station 5 had an increase, and Station 1 and like Station, I think it was 2 or something like that, but it wasn't where you'd think, where we would have the large, and any kind of increase. But they was very small. I brought up just a copy of it if anybody wants to look at it. I didn't bring last year's. I just compared them, when I got them, just to check.
What's the value? I'm looking for it here.
It's station, it's right here. Two results, 1.6.
That's still pretty low.
Yeah, 1.6. One of them is like a 3.0.
One of our wells, I forget which one, 3 is it, was up to 3 or 4 milligrams.
That wasn't that high. None of them have been up.
2 or 3?
Yeah, well, last year they were below 3,
Okay,
all of them.
so this is
And
5?
this one, that was, yeah, let me see, I can get you help. I can't see that far away. That's 4, which is.
Oh, I see.
Yep, is 1.6, 3 is 1.8. Station 2 was 2.6, which is a little low.
Thinking of,
Yeah, and Station 5 actually.
2.9.
2.9, and 5 was up to a 3.0. So that's,
Oh,
and we're up
okay.
to like a 2.8 last year.
And that's the one that went up.
Right.
Okay. And am I correct in remembering, Station 5 is the one where we got I always forget the name of the development,
Ponds.
to
behind it.
move their wastewater system.
Correct.
You know, I wouldn't mind looking at what the move was, because I've heard that a few times, and was it outside the zone 2?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, they moved it outside the zone 2.
Moved it meaning before it got built, or they built it and then moved it after they built it?
They had it in the zone 2 built, and then they moved everything out.
To reconstruct it?
Yeah, so that they didn't have to meet the,
Why did they
because
do
they were
that?
failing every time. The Title V stringent guidelines. So when they moved it out of the zone, they didn't have to meet those same guidelines.
Okay,
So,
so they actually rebuilt it.
correct,
And
and
when did
that,
that
we get that monitored, once a year
Yeah,
out there, and I'm waiting on the results of the last monitoring. And I'll talk to, Time Bonds, actually, Gary, yeah, was a neighbor of mine and a friend,
Yeah.
and years ago, he was doing it. So now they do it over there in Time Bonds. And I'll ask him to give me a report for the last 3 years of that, and just tell me, you know, I can actually compare it just to
How
see.
long ago did they actually physically move the system? How many years?
Oh, that has to be 10 years ago
Okay.
now.
So why do you think it's gone up?
I don't know.
Okay.
Could be, you know, just a little bit different. We're not pumping as much, so I wouldn't think we were drawing anything in from afar.
Okay,
But I'll compare that out there. Station 3, you would think you would get more because it's in the middle of all these houses. But it seems to be one of the lowest ones we have out there.
yeah. Well, 3 is not bad, but it's suggesting something, a little bit of an impact.
Yeah.
And if it's going up, something we should
That's
pay
the-
attention
yeah.
to.
It's surrounded by houses.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll make
seriously.
I don't remember, I know the students did a report where they graphed the nitrogen over time. Maybe we could
That's what I was
update.
gonna say, maybe we'll see if we can
Update that,
chart
yeah,
something,
that'd be
graph
good,
something
that'd be
up
good.
with, the last either 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, that'd be good. Let's do that, Chris.
Okay.
Feathered one.
Jen, if you could record that graph of nitrates over time in all the wells, including these most recent results.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I can't read them, but. Superintendent's report.
All right, superintendent's report read on March 14th for April. In April of 2024, we pumped 7,834,000. April of 2025, we pumped 8,058,000 for an increase of 224,000. Not a lot of water really, considering, you know, a couple new houses and everything else. Under association news, as you just heard, Knoxville County Water Utilities Association is holding a water fair, which helps out, and Tara's gonna be putting a presentation for that on all everything she's doing now. New England Waterworks and Mass Waterworks are both putting out classes. Mass Rural Water sent out an email yesterday that said, thank you to everybody, that looks like their funding's gonna be saved. So thank you for.
Oh, really?
opening up. Yeah,
Wow.
so it helps them out a little bit. They said that they're not gonna be getting any cuts,
Oh,
it looks like. We did do one replacement service in town. We did not have any leaks or new services. A little bit on the generator. So I got my report back on the generator at Station 1, of course, now, instead of 2 months ago or anything, we could use it. The estimated amount of repair for it right now is around $34,000. That's replacing everything on the generator itself. They do not request doing that because they don't know how the motor is, the age of it. They mentioned like 3 times. Once again, we do not request you do it this way, but we will do it if you want. So I asked them to give me a price on a new one also, and that's about $42,600 installed.
Sounds like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, so it is brand new. I did do a little more investigation and called in and asked them to see if they could get the state county bid on a generator, like bring it down a little bit more through an FAC 124. Keeps changing, but that's how we got them originally. You get a cheaper one and you get it done. The state just gives you the best price possible for that stuff. But yeah, that was a no-brainer to me too. So I told you gentlemen that we're not gonna be able to do it right this second, right this minute, but if, by any chance there is a special meeting this year, I'd like to jump on that. If they have any kind of time, we'll put something together. Other than that, I'll wait till next year and we'll put it in as a special appropriation.
I think we talked about the fact that it's nice to have, it's not critical unless there's
Correct.
a problem everywhere else.
And I did give them permission to strip down the, I talked to them about it, they're gonna strip down, take whatever parts might be able to be used on any of the other ones, because there's 3 identicals. So they're gonna strip that down and give me some kind of junk credit also. So that would bring down the price also. I said, I don't have to get it back here now, do I? You can get rid of it for me. They said, they'll get a whole yard full of them, don't worry about it. So that's the generator. Cyber grant.
What?
The cyber grant, the cybersecurity grant, we
Right.
did apply, we went through, apparently Ray got notified on Monday that we received it. And for some reason they have him because it must be because he's the treasurer and everything else. They get some information. At 4:20 today, I finally got the email from them saying, congratulations. It's a whole bunch of stuff. It is for $30,000. And they gave me a pay schedule. It's like $7,000 in July, another $7,000 the next month. It's over a 6-month period, I believe.
It's not a reimbursement grant.
No, it doesn't seem to be. I haven't read through the whole thing, because it was, like I said, it came in at 4:20. So I'll go through that tomorrow, or I can send it out to one of you guys if you want to look at it. It's just a whole bunch of stuff we got to fill out right now. But we were good.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's great news.
I'll mention too, we still haven't had anything on the W-2s, just to keep you on top of it. We're still waiting for the adjustment on that. And the last thing is the litigation. As you guys have heard, there's a little bit of in here, on the camera, there's something from Bud and Bud. Here, we did get a check for $46,477.11. That, reading into this, is for 20% of 3M's, yeah, sure, claim or payment to us. We should be getting either before the end of this term, this quarter, or next quarter, another 45.6% check. After that, they're looking, the rest of the payments are gonna be put out over a time schedule where, when I was looking at it, I believe it's gonna be paid yearly at so much percent, up to like 6 or 7, maybe even 10 years. So we'll get a check every year for the remainder of it.
It goes through calendar 2033,
Yeah, it's in, yeah, so it goes for a while.
the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, there you go. And it'll be for whatever the percentage is here. So the 6, the 4, the 5, the 5, the 3, the 4, you know, the whole percentage down. It's gonna go down every year.
The next payment could be 92,000.
And you can also see in the front of the page number 2, DuPont should be giving us one payment coming out, either at the end of this quarter or the next. I don't know what that's gonna be either. They have some figures, but it's all based on a certain percentage of points per every point that they get on the system. So when that typo is coming in the fourth quarter, they said, and BASF also in the fourth quarter of 25. So we should be getting some more money coming in soon. My question to you guys basically is, do we just hand this to the district and say, go throw it in the general fund? I think that's the only thing we can do. Jen and I were talking about it. I don't think there's a way we could put it in any of the,
New
We
generator.
Could add it to the water department stabilization fund.
right, something like that. I don't see, unless we started another one. I don't think that
To be a question for.
yeah,
Well, I would say that if we can't do that, we should at least keep track of it, and then at our annual budget discussions,
that was
remind
exactly,
them
yeah,
that
that was
we've got
exactly
X
what
amount of
we did.
money, which in my view should go towards source water protection and or treatment if we require it. So that's what this money is coming from, right?
Correct.
I would
And that's
agree.
what we did with the MTBE money, is that we earmarked it for the water department.
Yeah.
We knew exactly what we had, the 1.3 million that we got from that. And we said, we want to do some stuff. This is what we want to do. We just put 1.3 million in the general fund, and we'd like to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
So it could be something to keep earmarked all the time.
Is there a stabilization fund at the Prudential Committee level that?
Yeah, they have stabilization funds, but it's not just for the water department.
But couldn't we create one at the Prudential? If we can't keep the money ourselves, we give it to them, but have them put our name on it.
Well, there is a water department fund,
There is,
Stabilization?
yes.
Okay, at the Prudential level,
no.
within our own budget. But
That-
that's what I'm saying. What I'm hearing is,
It's a warrant article to be funded at a vote to fund that fund. I don't know municipal finance, so Ray would have to,
Yeah.
but if we have a precedent with the MTBE funds of being
Yeah.
able to do an earmark.
Right.
And this is indeed source water protection. I mean, this
Same
should be
thing.
used to mitigate
Yeah,
PFAS.
Yeah,
That's the purpose. So
Now, the one that we put in every year is the metered money, right?
So the stabilization fund that we established specific for the water department use a few years ago to annual district meeting was to be funded by that $10 or $20 per year per meter fee. And we do that based on an active meter count. My personal thought is that if we could add this money to that stabilization fund, we would need to check with Ray, verify the language of that article of how that can be funded. Is it just funded by that or by that and other means?
right.
And if it's not able to be funded by that or other means, can we amend that article, which would take a vote of the district to do, to say, add to it these reimbursement funds from the PFAS litigation?
We can advance that amendment at this year's annual district meeting when we get to that warrant article for the water department stabilization fund.
To amend it this year.
A motion on the floor?
Yeah, motion on the floor.
I would say prepare to have that in writing for the meeting.
And explain, see this check here?
Yes.
It's from, based on the fact that water is being polluted and people are paying for it and we want to clean it up.
Right. And we are eventually going to need to clean it up.
And that fund says it has to be, we can't use money out of it unless there's a
Right.
certain two-thirds, is it two-thirds vote?
2/3 voted. against.
Two-thirds vote of the district to use that money.
Right.
And it's specifically just at the water department.
And I would give Prudential, the
Right.
treasurer, and the moderator a heads up that we plan to do that if we're gonna do it. And run the language by Mark Pedro.
So on that, we'll keep a check locked into our safe for a little while.
Don't let it get stale.
This is our last meeting before the annual district meeting. I propose that we seek Mark Boudreau's counsel on floor amendment. Once we receive that language, convene a special meeting of the commissioners by Zoom to review and vote on whether or not to advance it on the floor of the annual district meeting on May 30th.
You don't think we can do it tonight?
Well, we can't do it
So-
tonight.
Why not?
But you think we can do it
It's
tonight?
not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda.
It's under, well, we're
Matters.
discussing it under the superintendent update
And
at
I'd
this
rather do
time.
it tonight and just make it subject to
Well, it's
Council
confirmation by
approval.
It's matters not anticipated by the chair.
do we have the language of the warrant article right here?
We can pull it up from the warrant.
What page again? The existing article for the funding of
The stabilization.
stabilization fund.
By the way, so is there an article in the annual meeting that addresses the stabilization fund this year?
Yes,
Yes.
To fund it, to add funds to it.
yeah, it takes, he
That's
sent it
different,
out.
that's funding it, that's different than the actual language.
Of the article.
I mean, it might need to go to the policy committee or something.
It's not policy and it's not bylaw. It was an article.
So. It's
I got it. David, I got it.
this we can't do it tonight. So every year we have to vote to put water meter fee into it. It's not just an automatic renewal.
That's correct. He has to have direction of the district to move money into it. And really, they can't vote no, because they've already voted an article to fund it. I just need to find what article number it is. It's a $46,000
But I don't,
article.
but what I'm saying is I don't think we can amend this motion to move the money into it. We actually have to amend the original authorization language. You know, the enabling act of the stabilization fund, that's what we would have to amend, I think.
I think so too.
I think,
Because it's specific to the water.
Yeah.
So we would have to have a new article to amend enabling legislation to stabilization fund. Which means waiting. Must have a special meeting. For some other reason, like a.
Right.
To see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer and appropriate the sum of $46,420 for the Water Department Stabilization Fund as provided under Section 9, Section 5 of the district bylaws.
It says a bylaw change.
So and the warrant's closed, so we can't recommend a bylaw change.
The bylaw, we just got notice that the bylaw committee wants to meet this Friday night, so I'm not available. They haven't met for a year. I want to meet now.
And according to the bylaws, they're supposed to meet once a year before 8 AM.
after the close of the warrant.
They're out of town.
Well, it doesn't hurt to ask the council if that funding mechanism could be amended. Says no. So I would move to,
The only other thing is this is money going in fiscal year 25.
The way he works it, he takes the entire year for this meter fund
Yeah,
and puts one check in at the end of the year by, you have 221 times 20,
right.
you know, whatever it is,
Here's 2,100
2,641.
and whatever meters.
So
times
he
20.
wouldn't be able to put this into the end of the year anyways. He would have to say, we received this much in stuff, we would like to transfer it into the fund from,
Right. So
from,
basically what he's moving in fiscal year 26 is money we collected in fiscal year 24.
yeah. So he would have to put this in next year anyways.
Okay.
So
To
we could see if we
transfer
could.
from free cash.
Yep. The amount of, from
Yeah,
litigation, water department litigation funds,
Correct.
something like
but
that.
in the meantime, it would require a change in the bylaw. Well, I'd have to look at the language of the bylaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have that.
Of the bylaw.
well, is it worth submitting a paragraph to the bylaw committee that's meeting this Friday?
Yeah.
I can't attend that. I'm supposed to be on that committee.
I'm glad to do it instead.
So I would move that we draft a bylaw amendment regarding the stabilization fund to accommodate the settlement payments related to the PFAS lawsuits. To be voted on at the next appropriate district meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. I'm done. Includes me.
Then we shall move on to old business. Source water protection test wells.
I can be very brief. Nothing really to update other than the second bullet, which is the wastewater meeting we're gonna have later in August, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. I do have one question in the minutes, which we'll get to later maybe. I did request additional samples, test well of Mariner Circle, so I just wanted to ask.
Within the next few weeks.
Okay,
Yeah, I talked to Tom's lining it up.
okay, Good,
We're gonna
thank you.
pay for the samples through Bosco County. They're gonna send them up to analytical.
okay,
It's about $500 to do them samples.
Yep.
And I asked him for both Mariner Circle and Santuit,
thank you.
just to make sure.
That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Horsley. On the Santuit Civic Association public meeting on wastewater management, I have done nothing. And I will pledge to do something in the weeks to come to organize the invitations to participants that should go out this month.
I did mention it to both Rob Steen and Anastasia Bedenko, who's in the minutes here, so they're aware of it. I don't know that I gave them the date, so.
Okay. I will confirm the date with the Civic Association and get the relevant location, et cetera, and then get those invitations out.
Thank you.
Commissioner Robinson, Conservation Restriction School Property.
Nada.
Enabling legislation update. Yesterday I testified before the Joint Committee on Municipalities and Regional Government. I did so remotely on House Bill 2258, an act relative to Katuitt Fire District, which would amend our bylaws, our enabling legislation to enable source water protection. I gave 3 minutes of testimony. There were no questions from any of the commission of the committee. I was thanked for coming in at 2 minutes, 59 seconds of my testimony. And Jen, if you want to enter that into the record, those are my words of support. I also filed a letter, the same letter that the commissioners approved that we sent last fall. I just changed the bill number and the names of the new chairs of the joint committee. I have no idea when the bill will advance out of committee.
Neither did I.
I got that impression.
But thank you for doing.
Thank you.
Several of the bills that were put in front of them have been up 3 times. So we'll wait and see. New business, lien list review.
So very briefly, you have in front of you the list of customers who have a balance due that is more than 365 days past due. First round of lien letters were sent on May 5th to these 40 residents with a total lien amount of $14,676.79. We have since collected, I'm gonna guess 7 accounts, $1,175.47, bringing our lien balance down currently to $13,501.32. I will send another letter in June, letting them know again that if the balance is not paid by July 31st, it will be submitted in August. You'll have the warrant in front of you at your meeting to sign, to be submitted to the town, to be placed as a lien against their property. So this is informational mostly.
I have a question. There's a series of addresses on the second page, all in the same street.
Correct.
Is there something particular to that street? Like a
So that is
condominium
the
development?
new neighborhood off of Route 28, the Katuitt Meadows neighborhood that has a portion that is affordable housing in there.
Pheasant Hill.
And there are irrigation regulations in place in that neighborhood where their grass can only be so high and has to be watered so many days a week. And there are some residents that can't afford to.
The association requires the irrigation
Requires
The
their
HOA
lawn
requires
to
that
be-
they keep the green.
and they don't have their own private wells, so I see. So
They are
they're kind
eligible to
of
put
forced
them in.
into, they're being forced into irrigating. That's interesting.
Mhm,
Wow.
mhm.
By the condo association. or whatever it
By
is.
the
And
housing
they probably can't
association.
put a private well in because it's on condo property.
There is one, they're not condos, they're homes.
But do they have,
There is
they own
one
the
home
lots?
in
Is
there
it a
that,
subdivision? I can't remember. I guess it is.
yeah, they own the lots.
So they could put a private
They
well
sure
in.
could. There is
Okay.
one
Okay,
homeowner in there that we know of that currently has a well.
okay. Interesting.
So
I have a
They
question.
lower their
So-
bill and it becomes a lien against their house.
So,
And then they pay higher taxes.
you verify that those are the affordable restricted units?
I have not.
Okay. If you can,
Hmm.
we could let them know about hardship policy that we
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, who would have this source of information?
Well,
We could send them a letter
They
saying,
only had to build one for every,
yeah,
so many houses, and most of them were built much different. They're not the same design, so I could take a ride through there and look at the houses and tell you which ones are more than likely because of the style of home
The
it is.
design.
we don't want
No, we don't want to assume.
we don't
No,
want to assume,
wanna
but we
verify.
could send a letter that said, if you are in a deed restricted
Hmm.
dwelling related to
Yeah,
income,
that's a good
we do
idea.
have a hardship policy
Right.
that we would be happy to provide you with, or just
Yeah.
provide it to
And
them.
also maybe at the same time, remind them they could put a private well, right? If they're, that's kind of an interesting situation, where they're being forced to irrigate.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's kind of like, yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't anticipated that one, but, we're kind of caught in the middle there, right? Mr. Chairman, I have another question. I noticed Bellagio is one of the bigger ones here. Are they, going out of business, or what's going on there?
Couldn't tell you.
the restaurant owner does rent the property. They
Okay.
usually pay every year to leave.
They typically get behind.
Okay.
And once they get their lien
So
letter, they
probably
catch
waiting
up.
for the season
Yeah.
to start. Get some
Mhm.
cash flow, is that the deal?
Sometimes they'll pay half partway through the
Okay.
year, but when they get their lien letter, they typically.
So we
catch up.
anticipate that,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This list is typically reduced to about 13 or 14 people by the time they
Okay.
submit it in
Okay,
August. Typically. But anyway, the letter states that you review it at your meeting, so we review it. at your meeting.
What is their phone number?
what's
What you
that?
have on there?
Whatever
Is this so? That's
is
pretty
in
cool.
the account.
428-0000. That is
I
pretty
think,
basic.
Whatever
I think
is in
somebody
the-
might have been lying to them.
I don't know.
555, 555.
That's like a double call me number. Good pickup.
Moving on to the review and approval of the prior meetings minutes. Commissioner Horsley, I believe you.
I've read them and I would move we approve as written.
Or a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Matters not anticipated by the chair.
I just wanna, I think everybody got that brown, every door direct. It came, I think, yesterday, bro. It tells you where district meeting will be at the church this year, not here. And that, when is candidates night?
20th, Tuesday the
20th.
20th.
Yeah, so you gotta remember that.
August 20th?
Yeah, no,
No, May,
May 20th.
May
Oh,
20th.
for the candidate.
Yeah, candidate.
May 20, okay, I'm sorry, I thought we were talking about.
Where will that be? Here?
May
I
20th.
believe that's here, because it's the Civic Association that's throwing that.
Right.
Are they doing it in person or Zoom only? Last,
Why is the ADM in the church?
What time?
to accommodate
Seven?
the large
I got it,
volume
yeah.
of
I have
it at
attendees that you're
7. Okay.
expecting,
Yeah, it is at 7. They don't
like
meet
they
till
did the
7.
special
Okay.
district meeting.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. Any additional public comment? Seeing none, the next meeting looks like June 18th is the third Wednesday of the month, which is okay with me.
Yep.
You said June 18th?
Yes.
When's the next meeting?
June 18th.
That could be, sure.
I think so, let me just double check here. Yes.
That works, Jim.
Thank you.
motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Adjourn.
Thank you.
I took a picture of it. I just wanted to one more thing. So- So, Andy. You kidding? All right. I was surprised to freeze the one downtown.
Yeah.
If I can find it all.
Thank you,
The
sir.
whole memorial. We have properties that get up on.
Yeah.
And you get the-
I always expect that one to be the bad.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
And
And,
I always forget the numbering, though. So that's the
no,
Oh, it's not.
no.
So they're numbered in chronological order?
There's nothing wrong.
Yes, I
Number
believe
one,
so,
number
yeah.
Yeah. I always, I don't know why, but I always assume
Yeah.
that's the oldest one.
That one used to be, yeah, exactly. The guy, name was Dave Coleman. Yeah, he said.
Wake everybody up.